The 200th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Let's look at the main events over the past day. Let's start with the situation on the front south of Kharkov, where the armed forces are on the offensive. The Ukrainian armed forces took most of Kupiansk west of the Oskol River. To the east, there appears to be a continued presence of Russian troops. This afternoon, this was confirmed by the commander of the ground forces, Alexander Sursky. There have been no further updates on this topic. There have also been reports that the Ukrainian military is breaking through northwest of Kupiansk in the direction of Veliky Berlik, an important logistics hub the Russians have left in the Kharkiv region. There was information that to the west of Veliky Berlik, on the left bank of the Seversky Donets, Ukrainian troops landed in the village of Kotomlia. From it there is a road to Volchansk, as well as to Veliky Berlik. From Volchansk and other still captured cities of the Kharkov region, evacuation is underway to the territory of Russia. Hundreds of cars are queuing in front of a checkpoint in the Belgorod region, and the authorities of the region are taking emergency measures. The following data is being received from the Izium direction today. Ukrainian forces entered the city, from where, since yesterday night, Russian troops had been evacuated to the neighboring village of Oskol and further beyond the river of the same name, so as not to be surrounded. In general, it is clear that the Russians are trying to cling to Oskol and move the front line behind it, since it will be easier to defend. The fact of the withdrawal of troops from Izium is also confirmed by many Russian military correspondents. At the same time, it is too early to talk about the complete release of Izium. It is not known where the Ukrainian forces were able to advance in the city. According to a number of Ukrainian journalists, the Russians were unable to withdraw all the troops from under Izium, and some of them were surrounded south of the city. To the south of Izium, in the direction of Slavyansk, there were previously numerous Russian units. Russian military telegram channels claim that most of the Russian troops south of Izium escaped encirclement and are fighting to the northeast to the left bank of Oskol and the Seversky Donets, while some of the units fell into an operational encirclement. Probably, on the left bank, the Russians will try to create a new line of defense. Also, Russian telegram channels write that even at night the Russian army remained in the southern part of Izium, covering the retreat of the main forces. There is still no reliable information whether Russian troops remain in Izium. At the same time, the Ukrainian military is already publishing a video of how they move around the city. On the highway to the east of Balaklia, the capture of the village of Savancy by the Ukrainian military was confirmed. Fighting there, apparently, went on until yesterday, although the main group of Ukrainian troops went far ahead. Much more conflicting data is on the Lyman region in the Donetsk region, through which the only road to Izium that remains at Russia's disposal passes. Russian telegram channels wrote that the armed forces of Ukraine crossed the Seversky Donets River to the southwest of the Lyman, in the area of Staryi Caravan. Southeast of the Lyman, attempts were reported to recapture Yampol from the Russians, also on the south bank of the river, where the Ukrainians appear to be entrenched. Last night there was a video from Lyman, judging by which the city at that time was under Russia. It is reported about the battles on the outskirts of the settlement, but there was no information about their results. Today, Russian telegram channels write that the city is still under Russian control. They also write about attacks on the Ukrainian crossing over the Seversky Donets River near Lyman. I note that if the Ukrainian troops take Lyman, then Russia's plans to create a new line of defense along the left bank of the Donets will be destroyed. Therefore, battles for the city are of great importance for both sides. Russian telegram channels and participants in the battles report that the Ukrainian military is trying to break through in the area of the settlement of Sporno, near the border of the Donetsk and Lugansk regions, about 10 kilometers from Lysychansk. Yesterday, the head of the Luhansk Regional State Administration, Suri Gaidai, said that Ukrainian troops were marching on Kremenaya and appeared in Lysychansk, and today he said that this has not happened yet and the city remains under enemy control. That is, at the moment, the armed forces of Ukraine are trying hard to take Izium into a complete encirclement, completely liberate Kupiansk, and develop success to the north of the Kharkov region. That is, it seems that Russian troops will partially or completely go to the Lugansk region. Moreover, yesterday this was suddenly confirmed by the Russian authorities. After 5 days of their silence, they tried to explain what, from their point of view, was happening in the Kharkiv region. The Russian Defense Ministry said that everything that is happening is a regrouping, and now they are going to increase their efforts in the Donetsk direction. A decision has been made to regroup the Russian troops stationed in the Balaklia and Izium regions in order to build up efforts in the Donetsk direction, the Russian Defense Ministry said. It is also stated that within 3 days, an operation was carried out to curtail and transfer a group of troops to the territory of the Donetsk and Lugansk regions. A number of distraction and demonstration activities were carried out with the designation of the real actions of the troops. That is, according to the Russians, they specifically withdrew troops from the Kharkov region and gave the territory to Ukraine. It is said that this was done to achieve the stated goals of a special military operation to liberate Donbass. The withdrawal of Russian troops was covered by air and artillery strikes, the Russian Defense Ministry said. The explanation immediately raised many questions, especially in terms of the thesis that now all efforts will be directed to the Donbass. But in fact, the departure of the Russians from under the Izium reduces the chances of capturing the Donbass. For example, an attack on Slavyansk from the north will no longer work. You will only have to attack in a straight line through Bakhmut, where Ukraine has a strong defense line. And besides, it is still unclear where in the Kharkov region the front will stop and whether it will be kept on the Oskol River, and units are also needed to keep it. And this is not to mention the political and information psychological losses. Another question is that the situation may indeed indicate that Russia currently has no reserves, for which they are trying with all their might to reduce and optimize the front line at the expense of rivers and reservoirs. But in general, Russia now has two main strategies in the short term. This is either to intensify the offensive in some other sector, or to go on the defensive in order to preserve what she has left in Ukraine. True, the option of going on the defensive is unprofitable in the sense that Ukraine will shell the occupied territories with HIMARS and long-range Excalibur projectiles, destroying the material base for controlling the territories. And without deep offensives, this problem cannot be solved. But at the moment it is not clear whether Russia has the strength to do so. Meanwhile, Russian military telegram channels have been actively writing over the past 24 hours about the preparation of a Ukrainian offensive on the southern part of the front in the Donetsk region in the area of Volodar. Let me remind you that earlier Arestovich, an advisor to the office of the President of Ukraine, said that the Ukrainian military, in addition to the Kherson and Kharkov regions, could also strike in a third direction. Better than two directions for counterattacks, maybe only the opening of the third. We'll see if we have enough resources, Arestovich, an advisor to the office of the President of Ukraine, said. That's all for now. I'm waiting for your opinion in the comments. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.